Yes, a wonderful evening to all our friends, all our loved ones, families, everybody, all in tune to our Abundant Life media platform platforms at this time. We are on all our major platforms on Abundant Life Radio. We are on Barbuda Channel. We are also on, that's Barbuda Channel, CTV Channel 6. We are also on the Barbuda Channel Facebook page. We are all on the Barbuda Channel YouTube page, right? And so what we need you to do at this time, if you just want to relax and listen to us, well, that's great. If you're watching us on Facebook, press that share button. If you are watching us on YouTube, press the like, and also you can subscribe. So as we continue to do these broadcasts, you can certainly be a part and connect with what we're doing. Last week, we introduced a program that we are doing here on Abundant Life as we continue to bring to you information in regards to what is happening in the Barbuda Council. You have heard so much about it. At times it's Barbuda Council, Barbuda Council. Some of you work for the Barbuda Council. And so we saw it fitting to start this new program, which we'll be doing at least twice a month. Somebody encouraged me, they said, no, sir, Mr. Frank, you need to do that at least twice. It can't be once, and so much of things happening. So guess what? As long as we are availing ourselves, we will be here twice a month. Well, we are doing a back-to-back because we didn't finish last week. My special guest in studio with me is no stranger to you, and he is the chairman of the Barbuda Council, and he's here, and he's going to continue where he left off last week. So, Mr. Mussington, it's a delight to have you back in the studio with us and all the listeners, and it's great to have you. How are things going?
Thank you, Pastor Francois. And let me start by saying a warm welcome and greetings from Barbuda to all those who have tuned in to your various platforms this afternoon. It's indeed a pleasure, always, to be in these studios and to share and provide updates to Barbudans and friends of Barbudans, wherever you may be viewing today. Thank you again.
Okay, I know last week you gave us a little bit update. We're not going to go back into much because it was last week. Is there anything new you want to share between last week and today that took place in the Barbuda Council you want to bring to light to the people of Barbuda?
Well, I noticed part of your introduction, you've said that you're going to make this a twice monthly occasion, and the fact that persons often inquire about what is happening to the with the Barbuda Council. So on that, I just want to say that many persons are indeed curious and concerned because the challenges which face us in Barbuda, those challenges continue. And when the administration is silent or people think they're silent, it will raise concern among the Barbudan community. So that is one way of having these programs, of making sure that people understand what is going on, to keep them in the loop, and to encourage everyone to work together towards sustaining this beautiful island of Barbuda that we have here.
I'm going to put a thought to you
okay.
Before, right? So we don't get a jovial start in the program. You know, it was brought to my attention when somebody was asking about the program this morning, and they said to me, is we elect them. So they basically working for us. So they're supposed to report to us because we send them there to work for us. So I hope that it will not just be your face we are seeing, but you will use your influence as the chairman to bring it. And not that, you know, we're not going to have no, where we are fighting here in studio or being opposed to anyone. But the person was saying that, and they said they're looking forward. Right? I was coming out of the bank, and they reminded me, I said, yes, the program is on. And I was supposed to call you, but do you really believe that it is the obligation of not just, let me say this, public officials to report to the people that elected them?
I don't know why you think that is a controversial thing and it would not be in a jovial situation. No. We are public servants. We serve the people out there. We are obligated to be accountable to them. They're the ones who pay our salaries through their tax dollars. And throughout my career in the public service, 37 years, if it's one thing that I've learned, is that it is one of the noblest jobs that you can have there when you serve your community. And I have no issues whatsoever in terms of updating my employers as to what is happening in terms of the responsibilities they have placed on my shoulder. And I'm sure that has to apply not only to the other members of council, but everyone who holds public office. That's what it is. You serve at the behest of the public. So that's my philosophy.
Right. Great. So the person will have my head tomorrow.
No.
I got to tell him to ask you about that. So, anything you want to update us?
You said updates. And let me start with this, because I think last week I mentioned the fact and pointed out the whole issue of the road works that are currently taking place in Barbuda. And I also mentioned the fact that the Caribbean Development Bank, through a loan facility to the government of Antigua and Barbuda, would have been facilitating some additional road works. Now, just yesterday, we had a visit from some of the technicians and engineers from the Public Works Department. And what they were here for is to see underground areas in which the road works can be extended. They have pledged to Barbuda that they will increase the length of the road works. They were offering 4 kilometers. They're now offering 9 kilometers.
Wow.
In terms of that upgrade. So we had a survey yesterday with the engineers, and coming out as a result of that, there are actually 4 additional areas that we pointed out as Barbuda Council as our suggestion in terms of the needs that we have to build out those 9 kilometers. And let me just go through them quickly, the sum total of what they had pledged to assist us with. So just above the sandground plantation on River Road, you will notice that the concrete road ends there. Now, they have pledged to continue that concrete road to meet the council road work, which is slated to end around the gas station corner. So they'll come up River Road from the sandground to the corner by the gas station. Now, where the main road coming up from Madison Square that leads down to the lagoon, Lagoon Drive ends with another paved road there. They are intending to pave that road from the top where it meets the concrete road that council is constructing, down across the post office, the admin building, the Holy Trinity School, and ending right at the lagoon corner there. Okay, so that's the second issue, the second section that they're going to be paving. And if you notice, these are main roads that are heavily used by people in Barbuda. Now, where the council initiative ends at the north, they will continue along the 2-foot Bay Road, going all the way up to the power station.
Wow.
And hopefully, if resources lend to the situation, they will extend beyond that. Because as everyone knows, that's a heavily used road. Every single person who come to Barbuda on tours and so on, they use that 2-foot Bay Road. In addition to that, one of the initiatives that are going to be, that I raised the last time I was here, there's going to be an additional disaster center and storage area, which is slated for the Mulatto Quarter area on that same river road. So it's important to connect that additional facility. And then the final connection that we suggested is that where the asphalt road ends, around the Sir McChesney George Secondary School, to continue there, going across to connect with the 2-foot Bay Road there. So you will notice that these are road networks that are used by school children in terms of the school bus, the new disaster center, the power station, and going to those tourist areas and other areas heading up to 2-foot Bay. So that will serve us well in terms of allowing us to be able to move conveniently on Barbuda. So that's an update in terms of the road works, and that is something that happened just yesterday, and we're working very hard.
Just repeat, this was with the technician from the...
The technicians from the Public Works Department, engineers from the Public Works Departments, as well as contractors, engineers who are contracted by the Caribbean Development Bank to oversee that loan facility that they're providing in terms of roadworks. So that's an update.
Let me just mention it. So we can safely say that the roadworks, we're going to see it extended for a bit further.
Yes,
Okay.
as much as I can put my, well, let me not say put my neck on the back, but I can only tell you
what giving us an
we
update.
have been, what has been pledged by that Caribbean Development Bank loan facility.
While we're a little bit on the road, I don't want to jump ahead of you, but now we're on the road, I want to come back to this one. Some of the concern, and that was raising some question last week, and I don't know how we're going to be doing it moving forward. The whole communication to the public with the diversion.
Yes.
So I don't know what plans are in place, and
Yes.
maybe I should just say to you, because to that, I think persons were asking why sometimes you don't even know where to go, especially in the night, and you have a lot of visitors here.
Yeah, that definitely is an issue, and I would have to say as well that I basically sat down a few months ago with the police inspector, who had raised concerns as well, and who actually offered to assist in that regard. What will have to happen is that the road contractors will have to liaise ahead of time in terms of those diversions, because last week issue basically showed up some weak areas in the system, because persons were depending on those back roads to be able to link from the village to areas further south and so on. And once you get the rain, those back roads are not going to be passable. So in a good way, it showed up the deficiencies, and on Saturday we were able to mobilize immediately, because what that meant was that the hospital would have been impacted in terms of being accessible. So last Saturday we were able to rectify that problem very quickly, in terms of opening up certain sections so that person, first of all, number one, access to the hospital will be guaranteed, and to ease the traffic in terms of not having to use those impassable roads that are wet whenever you get wet. But definitely moving forward, just yesterday I was speaking to one of the persons in the road works there, and they too were pretty much on the ball and actually making suggestions that they should actually move ahead, take the initiative to get some mile on some of those diversion roads ahead of time, to make it easy on the general public to access areas that they need to access. Okay?
Okay. Any more updates you want to share?
Well, those are the updates more than anything else. And let me just finish with these two. On the 7th and 8th of July, that's next week, Monday and Tuesday, there are two very important court cases that are due to be heard in the High Court of Antigua and Barbuda. And on the 7th, one case is, the case on the 7th involves the challenge led by one of our foremost tour guides, Mr. George Jeffrey, a challenge against the Abercorn development. And that's a development which is purporting to be building residences for the royal family. It's actually taking place in the bird sanctuary zone, in a protected area. And just as by way of update on that, last week I had to visit the bird sanctuary because one of the operators there, one of the tour operators there, is very much concerned and expressed that concern on behalf of the other operators. Now, many Barbudans would know the value of that bird sanctuary in terms of our tourism offering. That bird sanctuary is the most visited section of the island. It actually puts Antigua and Barbuda on the map. And what is happening is that the area has been polluted by certain activities, so much so that there is there's a bloom taking place there. And that bloom shows up in the form of some thick algae mats, which is actually preventing access to the bird sanctuary. So the operators now cannot get close to the birds as they used to. So I happened to visit there last week with one of the tour guides, and I went back today with the officers of the fisheries department, where we actually looked in detail at the situation, took water samples, because we need to find out exactly what is happening, because the danger is we can actually lose access to that bird sanctuary, and heaven forbid that those birds decide to move you know the impact that is going to have. And I raised that issue in context of that legal challenge which is taking place on the 7th. Because what that challenge is about is that the development is going to affect persons' livelihoods. And as one of the main tour operators there, this Barbudan has decided to challenge what is going on there in the court. So that hearing is going to be on the 7th. On the 8th, the next day, the airport challenge comes up as well. And just let me remind persons, the airport challenge is a judicial review of the circumstances under which the international airport was constructed. Is designed to review the laws of Antigua and Barbuda to determine whether any laws were broken, and it concerns the Attorney General, the Development Control Authority, and the Antigua and Barbuda Airport Authority as respondents. Now, persons would know the historical aspect of that case. It has been going on now, heading towards 8 years, went all the way to the Privy Council in terms of establishing the standing of ordinary citizens to be able to challenge authorities when they are doing things that will endanger the environment and the public good. Okay, so those two cases are coming up next week. I know some persons will be traveling to Antigua. Provisions are going to be made in terms of that transport and to house persons to witness those two court cases. So those are the critical things that I think that are happening. And as you'll notice, Mr. Francois, it's never a dull moment. Every day issues will arise. And that's why we have to be here in terms of updating the public.
That's right. Just give us a little more clarity in regards to the bird sanctuary. I don't know if you can break it down to the layman and give us some more details. Why the challenge going to the court? Just to help us.
The bird sanctuary is in the heart of the Codrington Lagoon National Park. It is also a Ramsar site, which falls under the Ramsar Convention, which means it is a wetland of international significance. It has international significance because it's part of the Earth's water cycle, and it's also essential for birds like the frigate bird and other species to be able to continue to sustain themselves on this planet Earth. Antigua and Barbuda are signatories to that Ramsar Convention. We are also signatories to the Biodiversity Convention. And what the Biodiversity Convention is, it's an agreement between nations that they will respect living things and try to preserve the life of living things on this planet Earth, because it is understood that we are all connected. And if you have species beginning to get damaged, eventually we as human beings will become damaged as well. So in a sensitive area as the bird sanctuary, in terms, it's protected under our laws, and international convention. And you're going to have a development which is going to be sitting right in the heart of that bird sanctuary zone, which is removing and damaging the wetlands. It's a destructive development. There's no way you can do any sort of development there without causing destruction. And once you begin to do things like that, you're going to have impacts that reverberate throughout the entire system. Everything down there is connected by water. Water moves from one place to the next. So just for example, we're seeing this, the scientific word for it is eutrophication. In other words, if you have a garden and you have plants in that garden and you put fertilizer via water on those plants, they will bloom and grow. The same thing happens in the ocean. Whenever you get nutrients coming into that water system, it's going to cause plants in the water to grow. So nutrients can take the form of effluents that come from man-made activity. And so when things begin to grow, they show up like algae and they can kill marine organisms. And what's happening in the bird sanctuary right now, you're noticing that the impact in terms of people who ply their trade, in terms of viewing that bird sanctuary, they're no longer able to do it freely. Whenever the boats go there, the dense mat of vegetation actually clog the engines. They cause the engines to overheat, and you just can't access those areas that you're used to access. So when you see things like that, that's going to affect people's livelihoods, they're going to affect wildlife, they're going to affect people's health, then under certain agreements and under our own laws in Antigua and Barbuda, the Environmental Management and Protection Act, which is designed to protect us as human beings and species, then you can't just sit quietly and see things happening and not challenge. So that is what that challenge is all about.
Okay. There you have it. Also, there's just some things you touched on that, and you said the judicial review for the airport. Let me just jump on some questions that is coming in also, seeing that you're here also to answer some. Somebody was asking about the moving. They did not realize the licensing office moved to the to the airport. So I think we can shed some light on that, because again we have to keep the people informed. Okay,
very, very good observation. The licensing office, the Barbuda Council, is responsible for roads and vehicles in Barbuda, and so the licensing office, which was formerly located down at the fisheries complex, has moved to the old airport. So the building that is there has now become the licensing office. So the officers are stationed there. And so for vehicle licensing, car inspections, and that sort of thing, everything that used to take place down at the fisheries complex, it is now located at the old Codrington Airport. So just visit the offices there to have your needs met in terms of vehicles and vehicle licensing.
Okay. In regards to the roaming of donkeys, horses, what are the council plans? And they know that you are the chairperson, but what type of discussion is taking place in that regards?
Okay, animal control is something that is important, but we have to take that in the context of Barbuda. Barbuda is a rural area. It's a rural community. There's no getting away from that. And so the presence of animals, whether it be livestock in the form of sheep and goat, as well as other wildlife, that is a feature of the community. And control is what we need to look at this stage. So persons who have sheep and goat and that sort of thing, effort has to be made in terms of keeping them under control, in terms of getting them to and from their grazing areas, as well as the pens that they're housed in at night. You don't want them to be a nuisance in communities in terms of the smells and that sort of thing. When it comes to other wildlife, which include donkeys as well as deer, because on certain roads when you're going across at night, you will see deer crossing the road as well as cattle and stuff like that and so on. It's just a fact of life. Now, with regards to control, we can only hope that something can be done in terms of making persons aware that they need to be careful on the roads. Now, you have to look at the donkey situation as well in the context of how people use the road, because no one can doubt that over the past several years, the amount of traffic on our roads, in addition to some of the reckless way in which people are driving on these roads, you will bound to have accidents with the roaming wildlife. So those two things need to be considered together. We are faced with situations where you have 10-ton trucks racing along these roads. That is untenable. And if you have that situation in the context of a rural community where you are liable to see wildlife, donkeys, horses, sheep, goats, and deer, if you're not careful, you will get problems. So at this stage, caution and wise use of the roads is the best approach at this stage, because there's no way you're going to be able to pen up all the wildlife that's on Barbuda right now. So you must take that into consideration and use caution when you're using the roads.
Let me just fill in with some questions, right? So just bear with us, and I think that's what the program is all about.
Yes.
Because people want to ask you. Being a former principal of the St. George Secondary School and an educator, what plans do you have to, improve the standard on, and there was really asking the customer service of members within the Barbados Council that deals with the community, the public, as in customer service, to improve customer service.
I'm trying to see the link why you attach it to me being a former principal.
I'm reading as an educator. That's what they said. As an educator.
I don't see the.
And I think it's about training and this kind of stuff.
I don't see the. Anyway,
the connection. Right?
Well, let me be nice in terms of trying to tackle that question. Customer service is a very important aspect of persons who serve the public. That's a given. As long as you're going to interact with the general public, whether you be a teacher, whether you be a assistant secretary, whether you work in any of the government offices, customer service and appreciation for the people you serve, that has to be foremost in everything that you do. And I think more than anything else, the whole idea of service, that has to be emphasized to people who work in these areas. Now, one of the things you will notice when you come into the council's administration building, the main building, you will see a difference. You will see the layout there. You will be greeted by persons who are pleasant and who will guide you in terms of meeting your needs. So, with regards to that public-facing service that we offer, yes, we are always mindful of the importance of it, and we are always making efforts to make sure that we improve on that. Now, there are other aspects of service. So, for example, when the person goes down to the land office with the intention of coming out with his certificate for the land on the same day, and it doesn't happen, people get frustrated, and then but people have to understand as well that in the services that we offer as Barbados Council, it's not going to be instant. There are certain challenges that we do have in terms of operating. And so the expectation that you have, please make sure that those expectations are manageable. You don't expect to go and get a land certificate in your hand the same day, or you don't expect to go into any other departments of Barbados Council with high expectations. Be practical and be patient. And we are mindful of the situation, and we are working in terms of improving the service that we offer to the general public.
Okay. Just want to remind us, if you're just joining us, we are bringing to you a very special interview. It's the Barbados Council update, and if you're listening to this on the 3rd of July, right, the 3rd of July, this about after 6, we are live with Mr. John Mussington, Chairman of the Barbados Council, and we're taking your questions. There's a number that you can call or WhatsApp, or you can leave your comments right there. It's if you're on the radio, let us forget our radio listeners. On the radio, it's 775-1031. You can call. We'll be able to take you live. You can ask your question live. You can call WhatsApp also. We'll be able to take you live. Or you can just leave your question, leave a comment, and we will certainly share with Mr. Mussington, as you have been doing via the telephone. But for those on the radio, you can call us at 775-1031. Okay? As we continue here. Mr. Mussington, in regards to the, somebody want to know, can you share with the public, well, they said us, and so I am part of the public. How many persons the council presently employ?
That I'm not prepared to tell you the exact number. That is something that I would have to research. I wouldn't be able to tell you at this time the exact number that we employ in Barbados Council.
So once again, you can send us your questions at 775-1031 as we continue.
And if it's an urgent question, I can consult with the chairman of finance or the secretary.
Well, I think they're just asking. They want to know, and with a follow-up, do you think the council is have too many workers?
I know there has to be. I know there had to be a reason behind that question. Well, let us handle what's on the person's mind, okay? And the person is asking, is council is overloaded. We have heard in the past about welfare state and all them kind of things and so on. So let's deal with the issues. The fact of the matter is the Barbados Council as the administration of the island, has been shouldering the situation with regards to employment in Barbuda for quite a while. Coming out of that 2017 disaster and having to basically revitalize, rebuild the community, because the economy of Barbuda went dead after 2017. So it was a process of building back, and obviously under certain circumstances, council will naturally have to take the burden in terms of assisting people to get back. Now, there was a time when wages and salaries were owed. There were a number of years when there was a huge backlog with regards to that, which stemmed from the fact that the budgetary allowance to the Barbuda Council was cut over those lean years. And so we had to struggle through that. So at this time, I can say for sure, the numbers employed by the Barbuda Council has been reduced significantly since 2018. And presently, we no longer have a backlog in terms of wages and salaries outstanding. And in fact, efforts are now being made to address the situation with persons who are going on pension, because as you know, the Social Security has increased the pension age now, I think, to 65, and it's going to be 67. The situation, council being the local government, our retirement age still remains at 60 until we can make the resolutions and necessary adjustments. So if persons go off at 60 with us and they do not get that pension until they're 65, then you know there's going to be an issue. So we're working and having discussions for the longest while in terms of getting our age increased, and as well as to address the situations with persons who go off on pensions and the delay it takes to actually get that pension, because you know pensions are not paid by the Barbuda Council. Pensions are paid by the central government of Antigua and Barbuda. Okay, so I hope that gives the context in terms of that question that is being asked.
So basically, the council is not over.
No.
Right.
The numbers have actually decreased since 2018. That is what I can say for sure.
Okay, awesome. Just want to also ask is what the person was really saying, not just customer service, but also training of council workers also to improve, to move to the other level, and with the whole joining forces of Antigua State College Hospitality, is the Barbuda Council going to take advantage of this to get their people trained and qualified?
I agree with the questioner. It's absolutely essential that as a community we move on with regards to the skills that our people have. And more, we have to make sure that our young people come up being able to serve in the various capacities that we are responsible for as local government. Now, I'm glad the questioner touched on the issue of that training and the fact of we have tertiary education that is not available on Barbuda. And let me just put some historical perspective. And I think there's where that previous question that linked my previous life as a principal. What I can say is that since way back when there was only one school in Barbuda, Holy Trinity, where both primary and secondary, one of the main objectives of the school is to ensure that our young people gain access to the tertiary level opportunities. So that is one of the reasons why we pushed to get a secondary school, and the Sir McChesney George Secondary School was opened in 2005. And the objective there was to get our people into State College, Antigua State College first of all, and the other tertiary institutions. You have the Antigua and Barbuda Institute of Technology, ABIS, as well as ABIT. You have the Hospitality Institute, and now you also have the University of the West Indies Five Island campus. And I can tell you for sure that over the years that I know, having been involved in education, there has been an increase in the number of our young people who go on to tertiary level education. At one time when I first started teaching in Barbuda, hardly anybody went off to Antigua in terms of, you can count them on one hand the number of persons that went. But today, invariably, most of the persons who come out of fifth form, they are going on to Antigua State College, they're going on to Antigua and Barbuda Hospitality Institute, they're going on to the Antigua and Barbuda Technology Institute, as well as the Five Islands campus. So there is generally an increase, and that is due to the fact that we're very mindful. Now, how does council fit into that? One of the policies of Barbuda Council, and I can tell you for sure, having served while I was in education on the education committee, one of the policies that was devised with Barbuda Council, and I can tell you from back then, any person, any Barbudan who qualifies and wishes to engage to have a career in any one of these STEM areas, so for example, medicine, engineering, aviation, and that sort of thing, the Barbuda Council would offer assistance. And in the past, I can tell you, they offered a full scholarship. So we have doctors, several doctors who were trained under that initiative, who are Barbudans. We have architects, we have an architect, we have dentists, and we have engineers. And that was because Barbuda Council recognized that it is very important that our young people get those opportunities. Unfortunately, that initiative in terms of full scholarship fell by the wayside, but what has not fallen by the wayside is the assistance that we give to students who are even in state college, who are going off to university, in terms of assisting them to get their tertiary education done. And these are grants given by the Barbuda Council in terms of assistance.
Okay, maybe what I need to do is to find a way where I can let you read this question so you know that it's really people asking the question.
Okay.
But what is the council doing? Because many Barbudans migrate to Antigua to study further education. Some are also being helped by the council and have not returned to Barbuda. Have the council put anything in? You're laughing, I don't finish.
And let me tell you why I laugh. Those
let me just ask this.
Okay,
have the council put anything in place for those who presently will be going, or future who will be going, to make sure that they return? You can go ahead now.
Let me tell you what used to happen. And this was the policy laid down in terms of those initiatives where we send in doctors and so on. We had these students sign a bond. And in addition, part of the conditions associated with that bond is that you would have to keep your grade point average above a particular standard. And in addition to that, you have signed on to serve at least 2 years in Barbuda in any capacity. That was what we had in place back when we were training those doctors and so on. That's why I said, unfortunately, it fell by the wayside. So that legal bond, I don't think we are enforcing it at this stage. You know, a lot of things have happened in between. And it is something that, personally, I think we should get back in place. What we do is express to our students that are going off there. You have been helped by the taxpayers' dollar. And so you owe it as part of your service to your community to come back and give back to your community. The expectation is there. I think we need to get back to where we were in terms of emphasizing it more and actually go back to the stage where we have persons sign on to that bond, and in particular those persons who are going to be given full scholarship in those critical areas. Now, with regards to persons who are just given a stipend, you're attending the Antigua State College, for example, or one of the other institutions, you get a stipend to assist. I don't think we can be that hard and fast in terms of bond and so on for that. You have to be reasonable when it comes to that. But for full scholarships in terms of these degrees, I think we should get back to the state where we bond the people.
So the question coming at you fast and I wouldn't say furious. But listen to this question carefully and hope we understand it. Is the council giving small foreign business owners a chance to own a piece of land here in Barbuda, or is it only the large ones? You understand the question? I
understand the question fully, and I will answer it this way. There's no distinction between small or large in terms of consideration given by Barbuda Council. Every application along those lines is examined on its own merit. There's no preset, what should I call it? discriminating in terms of small or large. It's based on the merits, and as council we sit down and look at whatever plan and proposal is there, and based on what it's offering, we make a determination on that.
In times gone by, normally when a business, a project will be coming to Barbuda, Barbudans would meet, they will have a village meeting, and you will have to have certain amount of person, approve or pass. Somebody just want to know, is that still in place, or is the government solely responsible for what take place in regards to development in Barbuda?
Let me answer that question by first saying that as part of our traditions from the past, as the person mentioned, people had a say into things that are going to affect them. And I, for one, and I think many Barbudans would think that that is a good thing, because in any democratic society, when you're going to have developments, quote unquote, that is going to impact people's lives and livelihoods, in a democratic society, you must have a say. So let me start with that. The reality is, the Barbuda Land Act was repealed by the central government administration of Antigua and Barbuda. And the Barbuda Land Act was that legislation which guaranteed the input of members of the community to have a say into those things that are going to affect their lives and livelihoods. That was repealed. And unfortunately, the policy being pursued by the central government administration is one which does not recognize the rights of ordinary members of the community to have a say in these things that are going to impact them. That's the reality, and that is why there are so many challenges in the court with regards to that. And let me go further. Even though the Barbuda Land Act was repealed, in 2018, the government of Antigua and Barbuda signed on to an international treaty which is called the Escazú Agreement. Now, that Escazú Agreement is all about the rights of ordinary citizens to information, the right for access to justice, the right to have a say in the decision-making process, especially in matters that are going to affect their environment and their lives and livelihoods. We as a nation have signed a treaty to say that we respect that. So let me put that on the table, 2018. And so this issue of Barbudans having a say in terms of that of matters is not for any person to say they're going to do it if they want to or not. We are obligated to do so by treaty. We are also obligated to do so under the Physical Planning Act, which is one of our laws. We are obligated to do so under the Environmental Management and Protection Act. So these laws that we have on our books give the ordinary citizen, not just us as Barbudans, but any Antigua and Barbudan, the right to have a say in matters that's going to affect them. So I hope that that answers the question that the person put there just now.
Okay. Is the Barbuda Council have the responsibility for street naming and the naming of streets in Barbuda? Once it used to happen, now it's...
Yes. Roads, roadworks, maintenance and constructions is one of the specific responsibility of the Barbuda Council under the Barbuda Local Government Act. And you are correct, there were initiatives in the past where a street naming program was actually instituted. At that time, we had a planning commission, and it was led by a very competent Barbudan, and we actually started a program of actually naming all the streets in Barbuda. I think you have Lagoon Drive, and some streets were named after prominent Barbudans, and flowers and plants and so on. Unfortunately, since the 2017 disaster, we have been facing a lot of challenges in terms of what was. There was destruction, some of the signs were knocked down and so on. So what I can say is that we do need to get back to where we were then. And with the road works that are happening, and the traffic control that need to be put in place. Names of street is also part of that management, and it falls under the responsibility of the Barbuda Council.
Okay, once again, if you're just joining us, we're here and we're speaking with Mr. John Mussington, the chairman of the Barbuda Council, and he's telling us all, giving us the latest of what is taking place. If you want to connect with us, you can call, or you can do as you're doing, those who have been doing it, WhatsApp 775-1031. That's 775-1031. Send a WhatsApp, or you can leave your comments on the, the Facebook page. You can leave your comments there. And I know some folks may not want to, but that's why we're saying if you WhatsApp, you're not calling the names of the person. Or if you want to call live and ask Mr. Mussington the question. There was a question that came in with the ABST. Who the business and the companies in Barbuda, do they pay their ABST to the Barbuda Council or to the Antigua Treasury?
That's a very good question, and the public has to know the answer to that. Is very important. At one time, you used to have, before the ABST was introduced, you used to have, for example, hotel tax and that sort of thing, which is a significant revenue base for Barbuda Council in terms of raising finances. Once the ABST came on the books, then it abolished those other revenue streams. During the period 2004 to 2014, when the ABST was introduced, I think there was an oversight with regards to the situation in Barbuda and how it would have impacted us. Fortunately, it was corrected, and the law was amended to specify that when it comes to ABST, it is paid to the Barbuda Council. So for all businesses that generate ABST in Barbuda, the legal collector under the law for those revenue, those taxes, is the Barbuda Council. You do have many of the businesses that are paying the ABST, and it is in fact a significant source of revenue for the operations of the Barbuda Council. But unfortunately, there are businesses that are not paying it, and that needs to be corrected. I think the council has made an effort with regards to getting especially some of the large corporate citizens to adhere to the law. We were successful in doing that, but what I can tell you without naming names, there are still certain large conglomerates that are not following the law. And
okay.
we're going to be making an effort to correct that.
Okay. As I said, I'm asking as I said. I asked Mr. Mussington, when all these court cases, the Barbuda Council is the one finances them, paying the bills?
Those cases that directly involve the Barbuda Council, they are financed, they're handled by the Barbuda Council. Those cases that are not bought by the Barbuda Council and are bought by individual citizens, we have to foot our own bill.
Okay, wow. The individual person?
Yes.
Okay.
The fortunate thing is that we do have fundraisers, we do have Barbudans living here and abroad, and other citizens worldwide who have goodwill and believe in the cause that we're fighting, because what we are fighting here has implications not just for us, but other Caribbean islands, Latin America and the Caribbean, and globally. And so you do have persons who support these efforts.
Someone who is a Barbudan but living in the States, coming to Barbuda, and they said sometimes you have to okay, you come, where is the lands office? How do I get to such and such? Is the council have any plans in putting signs on all of the council building?
Very good question. and in fact, that point came up quite recently.
Wow.
And the answer is yes, we do have to do that. Okay, so yeah.
Wow. Okay, it's just about, what's the time? It's just, we're going still. You can still ask your questions, and we thank you very much for connecting with us. And this is the Barbuda Council update. We are doing this, myself and Mr. Mussington, we want to keep you, the people of Barbados and those in the diaspora, informed, and not just Barbadans, wherever you are, to know what is going on in Barbados, why the reason for the Barbados Council. And one of the programs we're going to be sitting doing one of these time, Mr. Mussington, and I hope you can help me this, is to really share with the general public. You know, because I know recently somebody was doing a project or something, and they asked, you know, they want information on the Barbados Council. Why the Barbados Council? Why there's not a council in All Saints? Why there's not, you know? Yes. And I think we need to inform more people how it came about, because a lot of generation don't know about that.
And you're very correct, because now the grade 6 assessment, it does have questions specifically on Barbados, for Barbados and Antiguan students. And that's one of the things that students have been calling. Wow. In terms of getting information about Barbados specifically because of that. And you are correct. And we will definitely, we always assist as much as we can in terms of providing that information.
Okay. Somebody was asking about the, I think I'd asked about the transportation moving and the old airport.
Yes.
Is that the only thing will be taking place there? And what are the plans? Other plans for the old airport, and also plans for the place, the concert hall. That was concert hall.
Okay,
the old concert hall.
Old concert hall, very well. The new area for the license department and vehicle inspection. Long term, we would wish to operate a government motor pool in that same area. And with regards to the airport, or the airport itself, it is a space that is designed, and no one can guarantee that we're not going to be struck by another disaster. And so you will notice in 2017 how difficult it was to get assistance and relief and so on. So one of the things we discussed at Barbados Council, having the licensing station there, it will not destroy that particular use of the area, because you never know what can happen in future, and you may require even a place for aircraft and so on to land in an emergency. What was the other part of the question?
And the council, the old council.
Oh yes, that's very important. Presently, we have members of the old Barbados Research Complex, which is a group of archaeologists that have been operating in Barbados for the past 20 years. And part of their operation in conjunction with Barbados Council and students here in Barbados is to look at some of these historic sites. Fortunately, we had discussions just last week concerning that old council hall. It's called the Old Ginnery. It is a historic site. The stonework there is of a particular type. It's one of the things that we do not want to lose. It was part of the castle that was located in that area. So you know that area that's called Castle Well? It was actually a well within the Codrington Castle. So that historic building, unfortunately, it was damaged during the hurricane, and the repair has to be a specialized repair, because you're dealing with architectural structures and archaeological structures, and you would have to do the repair in a particular way. So we were having a discussion just last week in terms of trying to find the resources and the funds and the expertise to be able to rehabilitate that ginnery in terms of its significance historically.
Another question, can you give us any update? You mentioned last week you're working on getting the lands, people to start distribute. When can we start getting the lands that we have? That was the question came in. Mm-hmm. So how far, how close? All
I can say, 7 days later, as I said last week, those areas that have been opened up down the Bumpy Well Road, the next step, and the land officers have already begun to plan and to implement. What they will have to do is to go in and subdivide and actually mark out the plots. And as I said last week, we are expecting, once that is done, to begin dealing with the backlog of applications that we have on file. Okay?
What are the Barbados Council doing with the area called the Cricket Field? Are there any development plans?
Coronation Park.
Coronation
That's
Barbie.
what it's called, and
Oh,
it was
right.
actually set aside for that purpose with regards to sports and activities and so on. Since the hurricane, I think we were able to get it fenced back. With regards to activities, definitely there is a need to get back to where we were in terms of sports and games and community activities with regards to that Coronation Park. So athletics, football, the various field sports and stuff like that and so on, there's need to really get back on track with that, and that is something specifically for that committee of Barbuda Council, which is concerned with youth, sports, and community affairs.
Utilizing of the mall in Barbuda with those roads that at times that need to be fixed. Can the council do more with the malls that we have in Barbuda to get, because every time it rains is a different story. So tell us a bit about that. Somebody's asking a question.
Yes, very good question. Road works, as you notice, we decided to go the route of those concrete roads because what was happening in the past by just throwing mall in the hole, it didn't work. Once the rain comes, it wash out. So that's why the decision to make concrete roads. So the major roads will be on the concrete. Now that leaves the secondary roads. And obviously, we have limitations with regards to our resources to be able to deal with that. So what we intend to do is to use the mall to do those secondary roads in terms of filling in those potholes. And the roads are extremely bad in those secondary areas. We have to tell you that that's the case. And they need attention. So part of the plans in terms of the mall that we have stockpiled is to, little by little, as the resources become available, to tackle those roads, especially with some of those huge holes in terms of getting the mall and so on in them. Okay? So that's the intention. Also bear in mind that with the present concrete road, you will notice the sides of the road, they have to be filled in. So the intention essentially is to get that material there and ideally get topsoil on top of that so that we can get a nice landscaping in terms of our finished roads. But yes, the secondary roads are also in our mind, and we have to tackle that situation there.
Oh, we know that the Barbuda Council is not in charge of the security forces in Barbuda, but recently, one of our very own young entrepreneur in Barbuda lost her property and all kind of stuff. Is the council have any word on that? Can you share with us? And how secured are we the people of Barbuda with all those persons coming into Barbuda? Somebody's in there not feeling safe as they used to be before.
I can agree with that person with that question. It is not a nice situation at all. When you are down by the ferry on any given day, you will notice the kind of activity we have there in terms of persons coming off and on those ferries. And I do agree with that questioner. It's not a good feeling. And so in the past, where we knew everyone, Barbuda was a particular community. It was a safe community, and the kind of standards that we maintain, all those things are now in danger. And unfortunately, we don't have the wherewithal in terms of capacity because we're not responsible for security. Unfortunately, there does not seem to be the respect and the regard for a Barbuda Council and a Barbuda community which is small and sensitive to the influx of these foreign, quote unquote, I have to use that word, those foreign ways and cultures. You have the activity in terms of the bars, the nightlife, the whole attitude of people, the way they drive on our roads, the strangers who you see. And so security has to be a concern for all of us. I can only hope going forward that we see the necessary changes that would mean the respect for a small community comes back to be in the forefront. You don't push development for the sake of development. Development has consequences. Development can be destructive. Development can impact society and communities in a very harmful way. And unfortunately, those things have not been taken into consideration. It's up to us because it's our community, to speak out and to do whatever we can in terms of bringing awareness to these issues, and hopefully, well, not just hope, work towards getting a resolution to what is happening. What is happening is not tenable. And as you said, an entrepreneur lost a business, and up to now we don't even know who is responsible and what can be done. That is not a tenable situation at all.
Since you okay, sorry about that. As you said, we know, I know your thing. I don't want to we'll get into what we got in last. We're going to the AC. We're going to cool down on that a little bit. But you're listening to our special program. Is with Mr. John Mussington, Chairman of the Barbuda Council. And we are here. There's a number there. The questions are coming in. I'm trying to get them clear as much as possible for Mr. Mussington. But somebody just want, I'll throw in this to just ease your attention a little bit. Mr. Mussington, do you have intention of running for the seat of Member of Parliament for Barbuda?
And that's supposed to ease my tension?
It make you smile.
Because I'm familiar with that, and I can almost point out who asked that question.
Oh boy.
Let me answer this way.
Let me say this. The question that comes in, Mr. Mussington don't know who they're coming from.
Yes, he's correct. I don't know. I can only guess. And let me answer you this way. I'm a Barbudan. I am very much concerned about my community, and I would hope that all of us as Barbudans love and cherish this community as I do. And so as long as I have the ability to serve, I will serve in whatever capacity that I can. So that is my answer to that question. As long as there is the need for me to serve and offer what I can in terms of the good of the community, I will do. That's how I'll answer that question.
Okay, let me see what we're going to take now. Okay, remember you can call us WhatsApp at 775-1031. And okay, since you have taken the reign of the as chairman of the Barbuda Council, right? Have you in any way tried to bridge the gap between the present administration in Antigua, or have you received any kind of invitation to attend any meeting, been invited to cabinet, or any meeting with the administration in Antigua?
That's a question, and I'm going to answer you this way. First of all, you say, since I've taken reign. Taken reign
as
gives
chairman of the council.
As chairman of the Barbuda, it gives the impression of rule. The position of chairman of Barbuda Council is a responsibility under the Local Government Act. And as chairman of council, you do not rule as king and leader. And I think the last time I was here, I tried to explain the administrative situation as to how that role functions. So it's not a question of a single person coming to rule anything, right? Now, with regards to the other part of the question, have there been invitation and have steps been taken to do whatever? I will answer this way. The Barbuda Council is established by law under the Barbuda Local Government Act, which is recognized in the Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda in this way. There shall be one organ of local government called the Barbuda Council. That is what's stated in the Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda. And so what that does, it establishes a rule of engagement. In other words, it sets up the situation as to how the various entities should work. So you have local government and you have a central government administration, and the rules of engagement is outlined in the Local Government Act. So, as the chairman of Barbuda Council, my function and my role as I see it is to ensure that the rules of engagement are respected, and the responsibilities which should be shouldered by both entities, those responsibilities are carried out. And whatever it takes to make sure that that happens, that is what I and the council will strive to do.
Okay. Let me take this question off, what do you call it, Facebook, and it's there. So that's the only how Mr. Mussington will know who asked the question, because if you go back on Facebook, can the council do anything about the prostitution happening in Barbuda?
Questioner, I can tell you it is of deep concerns. We have had meetings with the commissioner, well, the former commissioner of police. I have had meetings with the present head of the Barbuda station, both inspectors actually, the one that's head of the Barbuda station as well as the one who is responsible for the district, which includes Barbuda. And that was one of the issues that was raised there. I can recall with the meeting with the former commissioner, one of the difficulties he raised then is, how do you know what is happening, that prostitution is taking place? So it is a difficult thing. It is a concern, because all of us who are here in Barbuda know what is happening. All of us know that what we see on the streets, the street corners and at those bars and so on, is not part of who we are as a community. And it is a problem. It is an influence that is going to be affecting the moral standing of our community, and it has to be addressed. Unfortunately, as Barbuda Council, we are not responsible for security. And so investigation which needs to happen and prosecution which has to happen, that falls squarely on the Department of Legal Affairs, which is responsible for the police.
Okay, let me go here. Let me ask you this question, because I don't know if it is the right thing to ask. If you're the person to answer, are you still the present chairman of the Barbuda People's Movement?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So I think then I can ask you that question, because the questions that I ask you, with the various falling away of the of persons from the United Progressive Party, which the BPM party is aligned with, is the BPM still, positively standing with the United Progressive Party amidst all the falling away? And you as the chairman, I don't know if you can answer, if you don't want to answer.
Yes, I can answer that very well. And the Barbuda People's Movement, at this time and in the past, we still continue to be supportive of the United Progressive Party. We have formed an alliance in terms of cooperating for the good of Barbuda between the period of 2004 to 2014. One would have seen the result of that cooperation, and there has been pledges on both sides for that cooperation to continue. So that's how I will answer that question as chairman. I don't know, the person was asking with the problems in the UPP.
If you're still confidently standing with the...
Yes,
right?
and as a partner organization, we are concerned. We do speak. Up to last week, I was in meetings with members of the party on a different matter. But we wish our fellow organization well and hope they can work through their difficulties, and we will not abandon them just because they're having difficulties, if that's what the person is asking.
Well, I hope you answer the question. We are going strong. Well, our already passed already. Would the council be open to receiving outsourced security services to curb the concerns of the community?
The council, when you say outsourced services, I know the council employs security people with regards to
receiving outsourced security services to cover. That's the question.
Well, all I can say is that if persons are there, what they can do is to do a proposal. We do consider proposals that come before us. Okay.
Okay. Great. Is there anything else come to your mind before we continue? And I know you started bombarding with all the questions coming in. I hope you are getting to do what, because it's council updates, so I don't want to be questioning for those who are coming. So is there anything I want to share this time, or are we good?
One of the things I like, right, is that this round we are getting questions.
Right.
And one of the very important aspects of this exercise is that people do interact, because we need to know what's on the mind of the public. because, as we said at the beginning, we serve, and so I was very, very happy to see the number of questions that are coming forward. And I can only say at this point that what we have done over the past couple of weeks, it is something that is positive. And from my point of view, and as chair of Barbados Council, I will pledge. You said twice per month, and definitely I will. I've already spoken to some of my colleagues, so next time around we have another session. I expect that it will be with other members of council who have their programs and so on to highlight, and who will sit and answer the questions with regards to their involvement for their particular committee that they're responsible for.
Oh, okay, because this question came in before, and I was supposed to ask it, but it slipped me to ask something else because how many questions was coming. Other than the chairman of council, is the other members of council have an office that you can set an appointment and go to see to them, or you'll have to set that appointment, then they meet with you? Other than the chairman of the Barbados Council, does any one of the other councillors part of us, or is it a requirement for them to have an office that persons can see them?
The members of council are responsible for various committees. So, for example, the person who is responsible for works, there is the Works Department that has an office on Lagoon Drive. The Lands Committee, the Lands Office is also located on Lagoon Drive. So from time to time, those persons who are responsible for those areas, if you do wish to have a conversation with them, you can speak to the heads of department in the particular department there, and they can relay the message. So that's as far as it goes in terms of set office. Presently, the administrative building of Barbados Council only houses the office of the Secretary to Barbados Council and the Chairman of Barbados Council. There's a conference room there as well. And so if persons have specific requirements in terms of meeting with specific members of Barbados Council, you can make your request at the head office there, and the information will be passed on to the particular committee member, in which case you can either meet them in, if there's a department, there are various other conference rooms that are available where meetings can be held. The point is, members of council are open to requests for meeting with the general public if they should come forward.
Okay, is a comment, and then also I would say I hope we can get a question from this in regards to the Barbados Council meeting. It is this is from the question. The person said, is their understanding that the Barbados Council meeting is open to the public, so the public can go and listen, and or why aren't we? And they're commending you for doing this, because for years we have been left into the dark of what they're discussing at council and the policies they make on our behalf. So it's just somebody commenting what you're doing.
And I think that's
saying that the council meeting should be public should be knowing more.
That's a very good question there, and it points to the fact that as Barbudans, we have local government. What that means is that as Barbudans, we have an obligation and a responsibility to know the law. The Barbados Local Government Act, it is ours. It is what underpins our council and our local government and the responsibility we have there. And one of the things in the Act, it outlays that meetings of the Barbados Council are open to the public, the general public, because the council is set up as an institution that is serving the people. And so the business of Barbados Council serving the people is open to the people that it serves. So meetings, and it said so in the Local Government Act, meetings of the Barbados Council are open to the public. Obviously, in situations where you're discussing sensitive matters, or if there are certain things that require, the chair of the meeting can call for the meeting to be closed, the gallery to be closed, and all that is outlined in the Barbados Local Government Act.
And that's why we need to really have a program. Listen,
Yes.
we got to set it,
Yes.
whereby we educate persons. So let me go. You see, the reason why sometimes asking the question like this, I want you to understand that it is question that is coming like this one. Ask Mr. Mussington, when are we getting a rubbish truck?
It can't be soon enough, questioner. It can't be soon enough. It's really an issue, and I can feel for the general public, and it's a responsibility that we do have. As I said the last time I was here, it is something we really need to deal with.
Okay, I don't know if you know this name, but somebody was saying Coronation Park should be renamed Albert Thomas Sporting Complex. You know anybody of that name?
I don't know, but I know Thomas is a very prominent Barbudan name.
Okay, so
the persons will have
Albert
to give
Thomas,
us Albert Thomas. Okay.
So, person on Facebook, you can just maybe highlight, shed some light. Mr. Mussington will always go back and read, so we can get a better understanding who is Albert Thomas.
Yeah.
And they said it should be named Albert Thomas Sporting Complex. Yeah.
And you see, along those lines, we do have many prominent Barbudans with names, and I agree with that person. We should go on a basis, because we did it in the past in terms of naming certain streets and so on, and we should continue along the lines of naming some of our institutions and areas and so on after our own people. And I think one of the first one we need to change is Codrington Lagoon. For me personally, name it something else.
Ask Mr. Mussington, what is the outcome he's expecting from the airport, seeing that they have already started to use the old airport, and what is the problem with our new airport?
The outcome, right? And this is something
you
that...
need to explain what
yeah, it's something I need to explain. And that's why when I stated it this time, I deliberately stated it as a review, a judicial review of the Physical Planning Act to determine whether laws were broken under that act in the process of constructing that airport. And let me explain further. That Physical Planning Act governs the operation of the Development Control Authority. Development Control Authority. And let me tell you what that means. You're living with your house and land somewhere. You get a neighbor who decide that they're going to go into sheep rearing, and they place their sheep pen right under your bedroom window. You see what's going to happen there? You're going to get a nuisance. And so somebody building something is a form of development. Development is not just necessarily a foreigner coming with a big bag of money to be big. No, that's not what development is all about. Anything that is constructed and anything that is man-made is classed as development. So you must have control in terms of what goes on. The whole question of nuisance is a critical part of how we live. Somebody coming and putting down a septic tank which is close by to your well has life and death implications. So you must have control. So that Physical Planning Act is what gives the control as to what goes on. So before you do any sort of construction and building, you must follow a process to ensure that no harm falls upon the citizenry. And so that is why you must get planning permission for certain things. You've heard of, for example, buildings going up in Antigua and they did not get planning permission, and even though the building was finished, the DCA's bulldozer come and push it down, and there's a reason for that. So what this case is about is simply that even though you are government, you do not have the right to break your own law. That's what the case is about. So focus on that, and cases under our court set precedents. A precedent is something that if it happens under certain circumstances, the court will always refer to it in making future judgment. And we don't want bad precedents to be set which can harm us going forward. So in a nutshell, I hope that explains what that case is about. It's not just about something already built, and so because it's already built, it's you leave it there. If somebody break into your house and steal your money and burn down your house, just because it already happened, that don't mean we just leave it. Justice is what it's all about.
Okay, ask Mr. Mussington if they're going to be putting speed bumps on these roads that they're constructing.
Just yesterday, I had that conversation, and especially coming around the airport corner there. One of the things that came up in that discussion is that some of these gutterings in the road act as speed bumps already, but definitely, I think people are beginning to see the risks in terms of bad usage and reckless usage of the road. And what I can say, if and when the need arises, especially around some of those critical areas, yes, we will have to go down that road in terms of installing speed bumps.
Okay, I know it's like, and we don't want to make it too much exhaustive because we know folks online in the Facebook, they're using their data, and we don't want.
And you do record, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
These have been playing by. We normally, we have recordings.
Yes.
I keep it recorded, so, and also then it's been repeated. So
okay, great.
That's why some persons who had missed the start and they encourage us. And so if you're not watching this on the 3rd, today's the 3rd of July, you're watching it after it's a repeat. And we thank every one of you for taking the time to be a part of our program for today. Mr. Mussington, I'm going to give you a chance. I know we cannot cover everything at once, but we will let folks know in advance when we'll be back here. Okay. And I just hope even at least one of your colleagues can come with you, so people don't think that it's just you're the only person making up the council. Anything you want to close with?
Well, I just want to assure the general public that as the Barbuda Council, we serve, and I can assure you that it's not just going to be me alone who is coming to address you in terms of providing you with the necessary updates. And I want to take this opportunity as well to thank you for giving us the opportunity. It's a great service you're offering to the Barbudan community, whether they're here or abroad, in terms of providing the necessary information with regards to what is going on. And it is a good thing, and definitely we will be keeping up the whole question of doing these programs to provide Barbudans with information as to what is going on in the community. And keep the questions going. As public servants, and it's something that I always encourage my colleagues and so on, we're here to serve, and one of the best ways in terms of connecting with your people is on programs like this. The microphone is not something to fear. I love the microphone in terms of meeting and greeting with people. And I do love the questions that were coming forward this afternoon, and I think it was a very useful exercise. So all those persons who took the time to reach out, thank you very much for those questions, and keep them coming. And I hope that the relationship will continue in terms of going forward to make a better community here in Barbuda.
Well, what I would hope, and I would hope that, everybody, whatever it is, I hope that you will cause that you will cause the Barbuda Council Facebook page even to share this, to expand our viewership with everybody, and folks will connect with what we are doing right here. And I want to thank you very much, Mr. Mussington. And as I said, the question was just coming in because people were waiting. Because last week they realized we dealt more with giving them information, and I think we have to balance the program whereby we make sure we get on at least half an hour to update, and then we go into question and answer. Right, so we're going to balance it. It's a new initiative. We are going to make it happen, and I am saying that as long as I am here, we're going to be doing this because and let me tell you something. The crowd that met me on the road and different, I'm in the shop. Oh, I love the program with you and Mr. Mussington. Please continue. Ask Mr. Mussington this will be up to today I was coming from, and somebody reminded me. So I know that people are looking forward, and that's why they were just waiting. And I must applaud you and commend you for this. For doing this, Mr. Mussington. And
we don't have to remain in the studio. We can go out. I love taking the camera out there.
Of course, no, we can. And one of the things we can think about also, if you know certain things that you can do, but we can let people know what we can do. Like if you're going to talk about how far you reach by the road, we can even go up in advance and have the clipping. So while you're talking, we can do all that. There's nothing. Our stuff. We can do anything that even we may not have the top of the top class, but we can do as much as any Caribbean media house can do. It's just that when persons like you come forward, then we will show how much we can do what we're doing. So thank you very much.
Sounds like a plan.
It is a plan, and we'll have more persons on board as we continue to move forward. Share, if you're watching this on Facebook, share. On our YouTube also, it's Barbie the channel. But if you go to YouTube, just type in Mr. John Mussington interview part 2. It's right there on YouTube, or Barbie the channel, and you can get us right there. And well, this would all be repeated on channel 6 and also on the radio. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Mr. Mussington, for being a part.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.